Well, in 2021, President Biden expanded the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, temporarily relaxing the stringent rules that once rejected about 90% of applicants to give more teachers, nurses, librarians, and military members access to relief. In that time, 615,000 public employees have had $42 billion of debt forgiven. Well, now these relaxed rules are ending this year, even as organizations like the American Federation of Teachers are advocating to extend the program. We have AFT's President Randy Weingarten with us as part of our special Student Loans Smarter Strategies. Good to have you on the show, Randy. So talk about the next steps given this end date on the horizon for the relaxed public service loan forgiveness rules.
So, what happened about, I would say, a year and a half ago was that the Gordian knot of deception, deceit, and failure got untied by the Biden administration in all of the student debt work. And so, I just heard the previous speakers. Think about what happens in terms of mortgages, how transparent they are, what people know, how they learn about them, and what they know that they're taking on. None of that happens in terms of student debt and in terms of any of the programs. So PSLF was a program that said, if you work in public sector, whether you're in the Army, whether you're a nurse, whether in your public services, work for a religious institution or a teacher, if you work there for 10 years, then the rest of you have student debt, the rest of your student debt will be forgiven because of that. The first person who had to implement this was Betsy DeVos, and instead of making it easy to implement, 99% of the people were rejected. And what we saw in polling that we did with our members was these are folks that teachers don't get paid a lot to begin with, but they wanted to own a home, they wanted to start a family, and this Gordian knot of student debt stopped that from happening. So we started doing lots of things, including lawsuits and advocacy and education. And when the Biden administration came in, they untied the Gordian knot for a year. They could do that with that waiver. And you see what has happened. This is a rule that President Bush and Senator Clinton and Kennedy did together in a bipartisan way to get people into public service. And we have seen hundreds of thousands of people have game-changing effects in their lives because they have been able to take the relief that was offered to them in 2007. So now what the president is doing is trying to do the same as student debt is starting to be online again and starting to be repaid again post the pandemic. He's trying to put into place things that will help people who go to college. And we should be really helping people go to college and doing it in an affordable way.
And Randy, as your recent data shows, many of these public service jobs, they do require post-secondary education,
Yes.
Educators, healthcare workers, those protecting our security and freedom. What is at stake here if they don't get the kind of funding they need to be able to access this education?
Well, three things will happen. One, fewer people will go into public service. Two, you have a terrible situation in terms of public service, and this is why we got so involved in it, which is that you have people who can't afford to work in public service, and what we saw in polling was that people were starting to think about suicide, and we, for the first time ever, we broke confidentiality when we saw that. We brought in grief counselors, and that's when we started our advocacy about 10 years ago. And the third is, it's a terrible pull down on the economy, because when you see this kind of default, when you see this kind of thing, you see a real drag on the economy. And fourth, and probably most importantly, we should be creating opportunity in this country for people. So we should be saying, if we say to them, go to college, that is going to give you a pathway to the middle class, we should mean it. We shouldn't have these predatory lenders. We shouldn't have these Gordian knots. We need to help people not just pay their bills, but make sure that there is an affordable route to opportunity. And that's what all of the student loan work that President Biden is trying to do is intending to accomplish. Make sure that kids can go to college and make it affordable so they don't have a death sentence if they actually try to make something better for themselves and their families.
So, Randy, for the public service workers who are watching this and wondering what to do when that deadline kicks in, what are some of the avenues that they can take in order to try and repay some of their student debt and not be so heavily burdened?
So first off, there's a big on-ramp that's going on right now to actually help people be able to afford their student debt. Look, it's an alphabet soup. I wish government didn't talk in alphabet soups of PSLF and IDR and things like that. But bottom line, public service loan forgiveness still is operational. Some of the waivers to get rid of some of the obstacles aren't there anymore, but still essentially, you work in the public service for 10 years, you pay your debt for 10 years, you're going to get relief after that. That's number one. Number two, there's something called income-driven replacement, and there's a whole new program called Save Ed that the federal government has worked on to try to actually get you in a better plan. Not a predatory plan, but a better plan that would actually accommodate your income. Number three, there's all these different new ramp-ups so that all of a sudden, when somebody gets a bill for the interest and for student debt for the first time in 3 years, there's ways in which one ramps up so that you can do your own budget to deal with this. And we have, the AFT, we've had over 1,000 student debt clinics ourselves. We have served thousands of people. We've gotten $500 million from people directly with us for relief in terms of student debt. So use our website if you're a member. Use our website, even if you're not a member. Use our website. Come to one of our student debt clinics, and we can go through all of this kind of explanation. And we're getting this information to our members and to others as fast and as best as we possibly can.
And certainly getting that information out to people is the first step. A lot of people don't know some of the benefits that they're letting go of by even refinancing their loans and getting locked in so that they don't access the same benefits. I mean, as we know, student debt
it's like, don't use predatory lenders. Use what the government has put together in Save Ed or in PSLF or in some of these other plans. And what we're trying to do is get more and more information out. Education, advocacy. We filed legal suits against Betsy DeVos and the predatory lenders to stop these predatory practices, and also this service that we've done. So if you're an AFT member, we have ways to actually make sure you can get to the fit that you need. And we're also finally really trying to work with the Biden administration to get that kind of student debt cancellation that he tried to do already and that he's trying to do in a different route.
I do appreciate you joining us this morning, and we'll be keeping an eye on the fight that you're fighting to try and get some relief here for some of these public service workers. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Randy Weingarten, American Federation of Teachers President. Thanks so much.
Thank you.